friends, it's Lisa and welcome to my November reset vlog. So I did one of these reset vlogs for October last month. It was the first time I'd done one and I really enjoyed it. It was a bit chaotic because I didn't really know how to structure the video. It was the first time I had done it and I didn't know what I wanted to include. So it was a bit chaotic. But I'm thinking this month, I've done it before, you know, at this point I kind of know what I want to include. I feel like this month it might be a little bit more organized. At least we hope. I feel like it's, you know, it's a Lisa video, so therefore there's probably going to be a little bit of chaos. But yeah, I really enjoyed filming that reset vlog last month, so I wanted to do it again this month. I just feel like there's so many things that I can include in this reset vlog that maybe I don't want to do a whole separate video on its own for. I don't have enough to do a whole separate video for, but now I can put it all in one place. So some of the things I want to do in this reset vlog, I want to talk about some of my goals for November. I'm also, of course, going to share my TBR for the month and my reading journal setup for November. And I also thought it'd be cool to share how I set up my Notion, like how I keep track of my reading on Notion for a month. And I also want to share some of my monthly favorites from October as well. And yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. I don't think there's going to be any decorating in this vlog like there was in my October reset vlog, just because most of my fall decorations I'm going to keep up in November. I did, however, last month get that little ghost friend in the background that's on the candle. I think both the candle and the little ghost friend I'm probably going to put away because those are definitely more Halloween specific decorations. But hold on, let me grab it. It's behind me. You can probably see it, but we need a close-up of him. I have this little acorn friend. I need to like cut off the tags of these things, but it's just so cute. It's a little palm pal, little acorn. But because he's just an acorn, I feel like he's gonna be out probably all year, but definitely can stay out for November. Still definitely very fall. But if I get any more fall decorations, I will be sure to show them in this video if I get them in time. But yeah, I think that that is going to be what we're kind of doing in this reset vlog. So let's get into it and start talking about some of my goals for the month. Okay, so first we're going to start with the more like bookish content creation type of goals. So one of my goals for the month, and it's honestly just a goal that I have for myself all the time, and that is to post more to my Instagram feed. How many times have I said I want to post to Instagram more and I just don't do it? So many. But I think I want to try and post at least once a week to my Instagram feed in November. We'll see if that ends up working out. I don't know if it's going to, but I'm going to try, especially because I know Instagram, the algorithm, it likes you if you're consistent and if you have like a certain schedule. So I'm going to try it and see what happens, because I always just like randomly post to Instagram and then shimmy out for a couple weeks and then come back and post something and then leave for another month. So we're going to try and be a little bit more consistent with it in November, but nothing too crazy, because I will never be a girly that can post every single day to Instagram. That's just not my reality. That's just not going to happen. But I think starting off very simple at one post a week, I think could be doable, but we'll see. And then I would argue that this next goal is bookish because it has to do with mini books, and that's maybe try and actually make my mini libraries that I have. So my sister got me these, both of these, like DIY little library things for Christmas. I think it was Christmas of 2019. I think it was the Christmas after I started my YouTube channel, and she was like, you can make videos out of it. It could be super cool. And I was like, you're right. That would be such a cool video idea. Has she done it? No. But I ended up getting an ad for this particular brand. This is the Robotime DIY house. It's Sam's Study. It's a bunch of books, and it's also called Sam's Study, and Sam is my cat, so that's kind of perfect. But I got an ad for this particular brand. They have the little like book nook things, like the little scenes that you can put in between books on your shelf, and I got an ad for them and I was like, oh cool. And I went to their website and started checking it out and then realized I had this from the same brand and I just haven't done it. And then this one, this is my miniature library, and I don't know what the brand is for this, but this I think is a little bit more simple. It's basically like you set it up like this, and the other one just fell, and then as you can see there's little books that you cut out and I think you just place on shelves. So this one is a little bit more simple. This is a lot more detailed because I don't know if you can see the little scene there. You literally build everything in that. So this is something that I would maybe like to actually start doing in November, but I also realized that like the holiday season is approaching, and this time of year is always so hectic, whether it's just busy with family and friends or Christmas shopping, or just I feel like there's always just a lot going on. So honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to even do this before the end of the year, but I would like to maybe start them. I've taken them out from the depths of my closet and I'm gonna put them somewhere where I can see them so I can actually remember that I want to do these. Even though I'm setting it as a goal to maybe start working on one of these this month, I also feel like this might be a good thing to have for the beginning of the year to start working on, especially because, you know, we got those long, gray, snowy, sad winter months ahead of us, and I think having a nice craft to do and spend the winter doing to make myself have some serotonin, this could be fun. And speaking of Christmas, one of my other just like general goals for the month is to plan out my budget for Christmas gifts this year, plan out what I want to buy everybody, and actually start buying Christmas gifts early on in November. Because every year I'm like, I'm gonna get ahead, I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff in November so I'm not spending December scrambling, but I never do it. So I'm gonna actually try and do it this year. Especially like every year Black Friday happens and I'm going, wow, such great sales, that I'm not going to take advantage of because I don't know what I'm buying people yet. So I want to have kind of a plan of what I want to buy people for gifts for Christmas so that when Black Friday happens, I can actually maybe take advantage of some of those sales, but also just be starting my Christmas shopping a little bit earlier and taking that stress off of myself. So yeah, I think planning out my budget, buying some Christmas gifts, and also figuring out if I want to do any craft sort of gifts and maybe getting started on that if I do, so that when December comes, I'm not super overwhelmed and feeling like I'm behind and then like I can't enjoy the holiday season to its fullest because I'm stressed. I want to just be able to enjoy the holiday season. So I think getting started on Christmas shopping earlier in November is definitely a goal. And with all this being said, all of these things that I want to be doing, one of my goals also for the month is to manage my free time better. And honestly, like, I feel like this would be the perfect time to start working on this goal because the end of the year is so crazy. But at the same time, the end of the year is so crazy that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to manage my free time well. I feel like as of recently, all of my free time has been dedicated to YouTube, which obviously to an extent I don't mind because I wouldn't, you know, be creating videos and doing YouTube and posting videos and stuff if I didn't enjoy it. I do genuinely enjoy it and I find it so fun. However, spending all of my days off dedicated to filming and editing and not doing anything else, I don't want to be doing that. I want to be able to spend time doing other hobbies and, you know, making time for reading. I feel like I haven't been reading as much recently because I just haven't been allowing myself to have the time for it. And also I just like to have more time for like journaling and painting. My mom asked me to do a painting for her forever ago and I still haven't done it because I just haven't managed my time well. Obviously, I have some fun crafts I want to do. With the holiday season again approaching, there's so many like holiday movies I like to watch. So it's like hobbies, but also just general other things that I want to do, like relaxing. Just like managing my time better so that I have time to do those things. Also like spending time with family and friends, of course, is so important to me. So I want to make sure that I'm giving myself time to do all of the things, whether that's spending time with family and friends, doing all of my different hobbies, or just relaxing. I want to get better at managing my free time so that I can do all the things. And obviously like YouTube plays a part into my hobbies and everything, and I do want to spend time on it, but I don't want to spend all of my free time on it, if that makes sense. So that may mean that I'm uploading less. I do feel like I'm going to go down to like a 1 video a week schedule coming in like November and December, which December is going to be hard because there's always so many end of the year videos I want to film, and maybe in November I'll start like pre-filming the ones that I can. In December I may upload like more than once a week, but yeah, I think just allowing myself to spend my time not just working on YouTube stuff and, you know, relaxing, but also doing my other hobbies and spending time with friends and family, I think is something that I want to figure out a better balance for. I feel like I have not been balancing all of my other things very well. So that's a goal for November as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how all of those goals go, but those are definitely some of the things that I want to keep in mind going into the new month. So now I thought we could share my TBR for the month of November. And I've said before many times, I definitely lean more towards being a mood reader than a TBR reader. I more so have some books that I would like to get to if I'm in the mood for them. They're more so November hopefuls. So I think I have 6 books that I really want to try and get to in the month of November. A couple of them are quite large books, so we'll see how that goes, but I also have a couple that are a bit shorter, so perhaps that will, balance it all out and make it a little bit more reasonable. So first and foremost, a book I don't actually have because it's coming out at the very beginning of November, and that's Iron Flame. I think it's November 7th that this book is coming out, and I'm very excited for this. This is the sequel to Fourth Wing, and I was potentially thinking of doing a reread of Fourth Wing before Iron Flame, but I don't think I'm gonna have time to do that, and to be honest, once I get Iron Flame in my hands, I'm not gonna want to pause that to reread Fourth Wing first. I'm just going to want to get into Iron Flame. So I'm really excited for this to come out and to finally, be able to read it and see what happens. I had such a good time with Fourth Wing, so I'm excited to see where it goes. And I feel like for the most part, I do remember what happens in Fourth Wing. It's not that complicated. It's more so just like one of my issues with that book was like the world building and how we got the information on everything, but I feel like I now understand what happened and what was going on, so I don't think I need to do a reread. I think I'll be okay to just jump into Iron Flame when my pre-ordered copy arrives on my doorstep. But yes, that's definitely on the TBR for November. I also have another book on my TBR that just recently came out, another 2023 release, and that's Swordcatcher by Miss Cassandra Clare. I'm so excited to be getting into this. I have 0 expectations and I want to keep it that way. I've seen people talking about it. Obviously, it's getting a lot of attention because it is Cassandra Clare and it's also her first book outside of the Shadowhunter world, but I really haven't seen any reviews for this book. I know my friend Therese, my bestie Therese, read this and did a whole spoiler-filled vlog for it, so I will have her channel linked below if you're interested in watching that, and I just highly recommend subscribing to her anyway. But yeah, I have no idea how Therese really felt about it. I have not looked up her review or anything on Goodreads because I want to just go into this without any expectations. I have no idea how I'm going to feel about it, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to be set up for it to be something I'm going to love and then be disappointed, or I just want to go in blind and just see what I feel. This is definitely on the TBR, and it's also quite a chunky book, so we'll see how it goes. Because I also have another thicker, chunkier book on my TBR, and that's Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I'm actually still currently making my way through a reread of Legendborn. I started reading it during a 24-hour readathon, and I still haven't finished it because I had to read something for my 1989 vlog, so that kind of got put on hold, but I'm hoping to finish that before the month of October ends, and then I can get into Bloodmarked in November. I am absolutely loving my reread of Legendborn. I'm definitely liking it more on this reread than I did the first time, so it's just making me so excited to get to a new book and see new material and characters and new different situations. I'm just excited to continue on with the series, especially after loving this reread so far. And I just feel like what is being set up in Legendborn is so interesting. I really don't know where the rest of the series is going to go, and I'm just really excited about it. I love these characters. I love Bree, I love Sel, I love Nick. They're just such fun characters to follow, so I'm excited to see their characters continue on this journey in this next book. I just really want to pick this up soon because obviously I'm rereading Legendborn to be able to get into this, so because I'm rereading Legendborn, I need to actually read it. So yeah, those are my more ambitious books. I also think Iron Flame is going to be a little bit of a bigger book as well. So I have a couple other books that are a little bit more reasonable, a little bit shorter, and one of them is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I have been waiting all year to read this in fall, so I actually need to read it in fall. And because I didn't pick it up in October, I definitely want to pick this up in November. I know I could read this in winter and it would still have the same kind of cozy feeling, but I have literally been waiting all year to pick this up so I could read it in autumn, so I definitely want to try to actually do that. So this is gonna be something I'm really hoping to pick up in November. I'm really excited about it. I really just want to spend a day reading it and really embrace the cozy vibes, make myself a coffee and maybe a hot chocolate, have an autumn coffee shop ambiance on the TV. We're just gonna embrace the vibes. I just want to have the best chance of success with this book. I really want to love it. It's a 5-star prediction, plus I don't know, I just really want to love this book. So definitely planning on picking this up in November as well. And the other book on my TBR that's also a bit shorter is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. And I'm gathering that this is supposed to give all the Gilmore Girls vibes because this author, this is a pen name. I learned that from Kayla from Books and Lala's video where she read this book. It is a pen name. Obviously the last name is Gilmore, but also the first name is Lori, which is Lorelai and Rory together. I don't know if that's intentional. I'm sure it is. But I think this is like a romance book, a cozy romance book set in a small town. It's supposed to have all of the like Gilmore Girls vibes. I've heard some good things about it. I feel like I saw it in Kayla's video and then all of a sudden after that I saw it everywhere, and I've seen some really good reviews of it. So I would like to pick this up as well. Also again, because it's the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I feel like I need to read it in autumn. If I don't read it in November, I'm probably gonna just have to wait until next year, and I don't know if I want to do that. And it will be a quick read. I think it's less than 300 pages, so I should be able to get through it quickly. So I'm hoping I can pick this up this month as well. And then the final book that I have on my TBR this month is definitely not a priority, but I would like for it to happen. And if it doesn't happen this month, I would like for it to happen in December maybe, but I'm gonna put it on November's TBR just in case I do get to it. And that's a reread of Divine Rivals. So I read Divine Rivals for the first time back in June, and I have just completely fallen in love with it. I feel like the more time goes on, the more I just continue to think about how much I love this book, and just my love for it grows and grows, and I just miss these characters. I just want to be back with them and be back reading this book. I recently got myself this physical copy, and just having it on my shelf and being able to look at it, I need to reread it. It needs to happen. I just stare at it on my shelf and I'm like, wow, I could just be reading that over and over again. So I think that's a sign that it's a great book and definitely one of my favorites of the year, and I would like to do a reread of this, especially because Ruthless Vows, which is the sequel, comes out at the end of December. So if I don't get to it this month, I would like to pick it up for a reread in December, but I don't know. I think I could just constantly be on the loop of rereading this book and be happy. I definitely want to try and do a reread of this month. So yes, this is the TBR for November, plus the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Iron Flame. Hopefully I can get to all these things because I'm very excited about all of them, and they're definitely things that I want to read in the month of November. So we'll see how it goes. So at the start of every month, once I kind of know what I want to read, like once I have my TBR figured out, I will then go onto my Notion into like my library reading tracker section and kind of update it for the new month. Basically, I just write down my TBR and that's pretty much everything that changes, but I feel like I've never really shown much of my Notion. I've always had the plan to do a Notion tour once it was like cute enough for me to want to put on the internet, and I just never really take the time to make my Notion that cute. So it hasn't happened yet, but I figured I could just show you what my kind of library section in my Notion looks like. So this is the main page for my library for my Notion, and just quickly going through it, I have a section for what I'm currently reading and my TBR, and obviously for the month of October we had the trick-or-treat-a-thon, so I had a whole page for the trick-or-treat-a-thon to keep track of the prompts and what I was reading for each one, and I realized I never clicked that, so we'll do that. I did not do very well with the trick-or-treat-a-thon this year, but I tried my best. I completed 5 of the 9, so it's a little more than half. I did not do very well with the bingo board here, but it's okay. I was just trying my best. But yeah, that's mainly where we're going to be focusing on, like updating for the month. But just to quickly go through the rest of the page, I have a section to keep track of my 5-star predictions for the year, just so I keep track of like what I'm reading. Obviously I have quite a few left to read. I have a little tracker here of how many books I've read in the year, just as a fun little thing, and my resources section. So this brings me to my Goodreads and my Storygraph pages, and then my reading stats brings me to my reading spreadsheet for the year. Is this all necessary when I also have a reading journal? No, but it makes it fun. I don't know. I enjoy tracking all of these things. Then scrolling down a bit, I have some series that I'm reading and some ongoing series. So these are some series that like I'm caught up on. I do definitely need to move some over because some of these books have had, or some of these series have had books come out in them. So I need to, see what I need to pick up. But yeah, those are all of the series that I'm reading, and there's quite a lot. So we're just gonna keep on scrolling. And then I have a little section for readathons just to keep it like on the page, but then once, the magical readathon comes around again, all of that's here and I can just put it up with my TBR section. And then I have a book wish list section as well, which obviously there's a lot of books that I want to buy, but these are kind of like my biggest priorities. So I have A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon here because that is one of my 5-star predictions for the year and I want to read it physically. So I need to buy a copy. And then Marissa Meyer's new book that's coming out next year, I definitely want to pre-order. at some point. And then recently I added this physical TBR section. This is just starting from the beginning of this year. I obviously own more books that were on my physical TBR at some point, but this is just up to the beginning of the year this year and what I've managed to read. And when you scroll all the way down, it does tell you how many I've checked off, which means how many I've read. So of the 59 books that are listed here, I've read 16. So I'm not doing well, but it is nice to have a way to look at all of my TBR. I think I might make one for my Kindle TBR as well, because I feel like I'm just going to forget the books that I have on my Kindle TBR if I don't have them written down somewhere. But okay, going back to the top of the page, going to the monthly TBR section, which is actually what we're going to be focusing on. Obviously, the Trick or Treat-a-thon is now over in the month of November, so I'm just going to move this down to the readathon section. And then typically I will, as you can see, I have this next month hopefuls section. So a lot of times if I think of a book that I want to read in the next month, I will write it down there and then just kind of move it up into the TBR section, but I didn't really do that for November. So we're just going to write out everything that's on my TBR for November. And I'm not participating in any readathons, so there's nothing to put there for that. But I'm going to keep Legends and Lattes there because that is on my TBR for the month. But everything else I'm going to get rid of. But I'm actually going to add Beyond the Black Door by A.M. Strickland. Saying that and typing it at the same time was very confusing for my brain. But I'm actually going to add that back into the TBR because this is on my end of the year TBR and I'm currently reading it. So I want to make sure that I actually finish it. And it will just be satisfying when I finish the book being able to check that off. And then what else did I have on my TBR this month? I had Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Blood Marked by Tracy Dion. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore, I think is how. I need to fact check on how to spell that name. I think that's correct. Iron Flame by Rebecca Yaros, and then a reread of Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. And then a lot of times as well, within this list, I will go through and move them around to be kind of priority, by priority. So I honestly feel like the way that they're listed now is kind of the priority. I'm going to put Beyond the Black Door above Legends and Lattes just because I am currently reading it. But Legends and Lattes and Swordcatcher are definitely my priorities of the month. And then I feel like everything else is just kind of, it's equally I want to get to. I think the Pumpkin Spice Cafe I'm going to move up just because that is a very fall-centric book, so I would like to get to it in November. That's a little bit more of a priority, I guess, than the other things. But also Iron Flame, the second that's in my hands, I'm going to want to read it. So I really don't feel like this is a month where there's more priority reads over others, but months where I'm participating in a book club or a readathon, the books that are on those TBRs I will put at the top of the list so I know that I need to read them. I hope that any of this made sense. Trying to explain it to you while also looking and typing things out, it was too much for the pea brain to try and do at once, but that is kind of my library page on Notion, and that's basically just what I do at the beginning of every month is write down my TBR or just move what I had listed in the next month hopefuls section up to the TBR. And if there's any readathons happening, I might make a page on Notion to keep track of that, or if it's a readathon I participate in frequently, I move that up to that section. But yeah, it's just kind of making it so that when I go onto my library page on Notion, I can just quickly see what is on my TBR for the month. Okay, so now it's time to start thinking about my reading journal for November. I have already set up my bullet journal for November. That's already done. I got the video up and filmed it pretty early this month. I feel like October was very late, so I figured we'll do the opposite this month and get it up a little bit early. But now I do need to set up my reading journal for November. So first I want to find some pictures to print out for my reading journal, and that first came with coming up with a theme for my journal this month. So of course, with 1989 Taylor's version coming out in October, I didn't do a 1989 theme in October because I wanted to do a Halloween kind of theme, but November would be the perfect time to do it because I always struggle to come up with theme ideas for my journals in November because it's okay, October, Halloween, December, Christmas. What do we do in November? But obviously I'm very, very excited about 1989 being released. So I want to do a 1989 theme, and I already have a Pinterest account where I save aesthetic pictures based off of books and just albums and things like that for my reading journal and just for fun. So I already have a 1989 board here on Pinterest to choose from. So I'm just going to find a bunch of pictures that I like and those will be the ones that I print out and use in my reading journal. I feel like the 1989 vibes is very like, it's somehow both city but also beachy, and I of course want to include some like Polaroids as well. I feel like we have to include that, and also some seagulls. I don't know if I have any pictures saved of the Polaroids from the album, so I'm gonna see if I can find any of those. I'm on like a pile of them. I know I actually have a picture of the Polaroids that I got back in 2014, so I could use that picture if I found it. Okay, I found one of the Polaroids, but I don't know if that really is gonna match the rest of the pictures. See, this is just, it always takes me so long to find pictures for my reading journal, but I'm going to collect them all, print out all of the pictures that I find and I want to use, and then I will start setting up my reading journal for the month. Okay, so I did start filming this little reset vlog in October, but now it is November, so happy November. So I did actually remember to change my calendar to November. I feel like I normally get like a week into the month and realize I never changed it, so I'm a little bit more ahead this month, so change that. And I also put away my Halloween decorations. I've kept my like general fall decorations out because it's still fall, and I'm sure slowly the more like Christmassy decorations are going to start coming out throughout this month, but I wanted to keep the fall decorations up for now, but the more like Halloween kind of decorations I have put away. So now I'm ready for November decoration wise, and I also wanted to talk about some of my favorites from October. That's what we're going to chat about right now. I'm going to chat about some of my favorite books from the month, as well as some like music and events and just like general things that happened in the month of October that I thought we could chat about. So the first couple songs I added to my playlist in November were both Noah Kahan songs, but they were like re-released with features. So She Calls Me Back with Casey Musgraves and Call Your Mom with Lizzie McAlpine. Both have call in the title, and that made me think that I was reading the wrong things, but yes, both of those songs I was listening to in November. But yeah, I'm not like super into Noah Kahan. I like him and I like his music, but I know like there's a lot of people who are really obsessed with him at the moment, and so when I saw that he featured some of these artists that I also already like, I decided to listen to them, and I really do like them, and I definitely want to get more into his music. I only know like those two songs and Homesick, which I think is probably one of his most popular songs, and I should really listen to him because he's from New England. He's from Vermont, so love that representation. That's why I love Homesick. It just hits different when you're actually from New England. But yeah, loved those songs. And then also Sabrina Carpenter did a couple of like the Spotify singles. So she did one of her song Feather, but then she also covered I Knew You Were Trouble by Miss Taylor Swift. So two iconic blondies. And I love it. I love Sabrina Carpenter. Obviously I love Taylor Swift. So hearing Sabrina Carpenter cover Taylor Swift, it's incredible. Yeah, I'm just obsessed with both of them. So it's quite the crossover. I love it. And also speaking of Taylor Swift, obviously 1989, Taylor's version, but before we get into all of that, she also released Cruel Summer live from the Eras Tour. It's like, I think the recording from the movie, and so good. Makes me so happy every time I listen to it. The little "oh hi" at the beginning genuinely made me tear up the first time I listened to it. Like, it just, I love her. She just makes me so happy. But yes, 1989, Taylor's version, is obviously the album that has been on repeat the past like week or so for me. I am obsessed with it. I already, like, 1989 is one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums. Do I say that about all of her albums? Perhaps, but it genuinely is. I think I've come to the conclusion that it is definitely in my top 5, which is saying something, because my top 5 Taylor albums do change a lot, but I do think 1989 is there. It's just pop perfection. It's hit after hit. I feel like the only song that I consistently skip with this album, whether it was the original or Taylor's version, is Bad Blood. It's just not my favorite, but she did release a Taylor's version of the version that features Kendrick Lamar, so I much prefer actually the one with Kendrick Lamar as a feature, so at least I can listen to that. I can listen to Taylor's version of that, and that's the one I've been listening to when going through the album. But yeah, it's just such an incredible album. It's just like looking at the track list, it's insane. It's so good. And the vault tracks, of course, are So good. I am obsessed with them. It's gonna be interesting to see, like, once I have more time with them and like listening to them, where they like fall on my like vault track ranking, because to me the Red vault tracks are far superior over Speak Now and Fearless. Love those ones still, but Red is just like, it's just so good. Even if you take out All Too Well 10-minute version, Reds are still superior in my opinion. So I'm excited to see where 1989s fall. Right now I still think Reds are my favorite, but I feel like 1989, they could be like tied, or I don't know, they could surpass Reds. I don't know, it's still too early on to say, but they are really good. Like every single one is really solid. I think my favorite vault tracks are Now That We Don't Talk and Is It Over Now. And Now That We Don't Talk is only like 2.5 minutes, and that makes me very upset. It's just too short. I just wanted to go on longer, but it's so good. What we do have of that song, I love it. So I think those are my two favorites, but honestly, they're all really good. Like they're all really solid, which is why I'm really excited to see where it ends up falling once I have more time with them to see like where they rank on my vault track ranking kind of thing. So I don't know. It's just good. I just love Taylor Swift so much. Can you tell? Oh, and of course I did film some of my reactions to mostly the vault tracks and like some of my favorite songs off of 1989. So if any of those reactions ended up coming out or were funny or entertaining, I'll let you enjoy that now. This is not what I was expecting. I have chills. This sounds like it's in Stranger Things. You grew your hair long. Stop. What? Not the mega yacht. I'm sorry. Mega yacht? Hello. Blue dress on a boat. I'm not, hold on, Taylor, one moment please. Blue dress on a boat, your new girl is my clone. Why is she doing this to me? Real. You forget, but you never let it go. This is the way God intended. This is the only way I'll listen to Bad Blood. So now moving on to like my favorite books of the month. So honestly, I didn't have a great reading month in October. I had a lot of just like mediocre, fine reads. I had a lot of 3 stars, but I did have a couple of books I did really enjoy. So one of them is The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Bellefleur or Bellefleur. I'm still not quite sure. I need to look at more interviews with the author where the author actually says their last name, but I read this for my 1989 Taylor's version reading vlog, so if you want to hear all my thoughts on that, I'll have that linked below. But essentially it's like a fake engagement, fake marriage of convenience kind of story, and we have Tansy who makes up this fake girlfriend. She bases it off of this model on these romance covers named Gemma, and kind of lies to her family that that's who she's dating, thinking she'll never run into her, but then she ends up running into Gemma, and Gemma, instead of calling out Tansy's lies like, I'm actually going to go along with this and we're actually engaged, because Gemma needs to have a fiance and be married in order to inherit her family's company. So they kind of will both benefit from being in this relationship, because Tansy also runs this bookstore that kind of needs saving, and Gemma is willing to help her save the bookstore if she agrees to marry her. So it's just really fun. I love the fake dating, fake engagement, marriage of convenience, those kind of tropes when done well, and in my opinion this was done very well. In this particular book it was done well is what I'm trying to say, and I really loved the characters, I loved the relationship, I loved a lot of the side characters as well. It was just overall really fun. I think I gave it 4.5 stars and definitely was like one of the highlights of the month. And another book that I wanted to mention, even though it was a reread, I definitely think it was a favorite of the month, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. So I actually read this back in 2021, and I have said it before and I'll say it again, I was very distracted by things going on in my life at the time, so I didn't feel like I gave this like my full attention and didn't give this the best chance of being something I could enjoy. So I'm really happy that I ended up rereading it, because I actually enjoyed it more on this reread than I did the first time. I ended up raising my rating from a 4 to a 4.5 star. I still couldn't quite give it that 5 star because I do still think this world and the kind of like Legendborn society and all of the names and titles and all of the levels of it, like, it is kind of confusing and I still don't feel like I fully understand it. But other than that, I do really, really love this book. I love the characters. I love the whole concept, the whole story, the romance, the relationships, the friendships, all of the characters. Like, it's just so fun. But also Bree as a main character is very much dealing with grief and loss, and the discussion on that I thought was really, really well done. And there's just such a cool like magic system. There's actually like a few different magic systems happening in this book, and I found exploring all of those different things very interesting. So I am so happy I reread this because I really, really enjoyed it even more than I did the first time. And I feel like this is probably going to be one of my favorite books of the year, even though it technically is a reread, and I don't normally count rereads towards favorite books of the year. But because I had such a like different reading experience this time around, I feel like it needs to count, and that's why I wanted to mention it in this month's like favorites. So yeah, those are definitely the standouts reading wise from the month. Again, like I said, had a pretty mediocre month. I had a lot of 3 stars, so I'm hoping November is a bit different. And now just getting into some general other favorites from the month. One I have to mention, of course, is the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. I went and saw that a couple weekends ago with a group of friends, and it was so much fun. It was such a fun group to be with, and we were all like dancing and singing in our seats, and it was just really, really fun. And of course I cried. Listen, I don't understand how a person could get through Marjorie without crying, whether Taylor Swift is singing it live or just like in general, like listening to the song. I can't do it. I always cry, and that's why I never listen to that song. So that got me. I think I cried during August just because I love the song, and the surprise song section as well of the movie. I don't know if like at this point if it's okay to say spoilers, but I won't say anything. But obviously the surprise songs, those got me. I think there were a few other times where I got a little emotional, but like, who's surprised? I just love Taylor Swift. Again, I will say I'm a little upset that she cut out some songs from the set list, but I will move on. I will get over it. And I'm really hoping, again, if it comes to streaming somewhere, that we'll get like the full cut of the movie and we'll see like all of the songs performed. But anyway, the movie itself was really, really great. I got the popcorn bucket and the cup as well, so very excited to find a use for those. And then I have 2 things I just want to quickly mention, one of them being that I hit my Goodreads goal for the year in October, which was exciting. My goal was 70 books, and I think now I'm at like 76 books read for the year, so I'm very happy that I've hit that. I feel like 70 is a pretty solid number for me. I feel like I've consistently gotten there within the past few years, so I don't know if I'm gonna raise it next year. I might just keep it at 70 again, or I might even lower it. I don't know. We'll see where I end up going with my Goodreads goal next year, but I hit it this year and very happy about that. And also something very, very exciting, I hit 3K subscribers in October, which I'm still like trying to compute. It's still weird to see that number like next to my channel. Like, it still doesn't make sense. Which I know that might not seem like a lot to some people, but to me it's like, that's 3,000 people. And now at this point, it's over 3,000 people that have subscribed, and I don't know, I'm so grateful, so thankful. Obviously, thank you all so much for subscribing and watching and sticking around. It means a lot to me. Yeah, I still do want to host some reading sprints to celebrate now that it's been like almost a month since I hit 3K. I still want to do it. I just have to find time to do it and also get over the anxious part of my brain that is holding me back from hosting sprints, but I do still want to do them. So if you have any preference on like a certain day of the week that you would like to watch some sprints, let me know. But yeah, that was a very, very cool thing to happen this month, and once again, thank you all so much. I'm so grateful and just so lucky, and I just can't wait to see where we go from here, what the rest of this channel is gonna look like. We'll see what happens. But I think that that's actually going to be it for this November reset. I think that's everything that I wanted to include. Also, I would love to know how you're feeling about these reset vlogs. Are you enjoying them? Are there things you wish I would include as well? I know a lot of people are doing these reset vlogs recently, which I'm loving. So if there's anything else you would love for me to include in these, definitely let me know. But I think that that is going to be it for my November monthly reset. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.